Imagine you're cruising through the Amazon interview and then suddenly the floor disappears. I've seen it happen hundreds of times, especially when the interviewer leans in and asks you, what was the data behind your decision and why did you make it? Without these details and data, you'll be in free fall because in the Amazon interview, it's not enough to know what happened, you must know why, and you must show that data. I'm Nick, a former Amazonian, and I'll show you the importance of the Dive Deep Amazon Leadership Principle. I will share with you 3 real stories from my Amazon career that will prove how Dive Deep and data are the playbook that will win in your Amazon interview. Let's start with the first story of a weekly business review meeting with Jeff Bezos. This was before my Amazon time. It was in Amazon's early days. Imagine an intense meeting with Jeff Bezos where he is reviewing a number of customer service stats with that team. One of those stats suggests that on average, customers are waiting for less than 60 seconds before they're connected with a live customer Amazon representative. But on the other hand, some of the feedback, some of the comments on the site from customers says that the wait time is much longer. So instead of bickering about it, Bezos picks up the phone in the middle of the meeting in full view of the team, calls the Amazon 1-800 number at the time, and waits and starts the timer. The time keeps going on and on for 10 long, excruciating minutes until someone finally answers the call. At that time, Bezos just hangs up and looks at the team. That is what diving deep means. It's seeking the truth. You are not looking at some metrics or proxy materials. You go to the source of the truth. Similarly to if I were peeling an onion, it would be not sufficient to just peel the first 1 or 2 layers of the onion. You got to keep going deeper and deeper. At Amazon, I hope I don't start crying here, but in the Amazon interview, if you think you've used enough data, you've got to triple it. You can never use sufficient data in your Amazon interview. Data is the eyes and ears of the interviewer who's evaluating whether you raise the bar compared to the other current Amazon employees. You must use data at any chance you get. Amazon calls this the dentist game. Imagine you're going to the dentist to get your teeth examined, and you sit in the dentist chair, and the dentist puts the Explorer in your mouth to examine your teeth and starts going more and more deeply, asking you, does it hurt now? How about now? How about now? And they go more and more and more deeply until the point where you jump in your chair and you say, ouch, it hurts. Now it hurts. So the dentist game means that in your responses in the Amazon interview and outside, once you get hired at Amazon, but in your responses in the Amazon interview, you always need to go down to that lowest atomic, indivisible layer of data where the truth is sitting. You don't provide these obfuscated higher level generalities and proxies. You go all the way down, as the dentist game would show you, to that kernel of truth and give that to your interviewer. That's what Amazon's looking for. That is dive deep in action. When I work with candidates, I hear from them, but Nick, something happened such a long time ago. I have forgotten the details. And that's fine. You can provide a hypothesis if you don't have the specific data point. But what this also shows me is that potentially these candidates have gone with what Amazon calls social cohesion. They did not bother to seek for that truth. And that's why they're not even exposed to what it could be. An example for that would be if I had to measure the height of the ceiling in this office. And I look at it and I eyeball it and I say, well, maybe 8 to 12 feet, somewhere in that range. And with social cohesion, the other person would say, yeah, that kind of looks right. 8 to 12 feet is the right amount, or 8 to 11 feet, whatever I said. That's the wrong attitude. The right approach, the truth-seeking approach, is for you to take a measuring tape and jump on this table in front of me and measure the actual height of the ceiling and find out that the ceiling is actually 9 feet and 10 inches. That is truth seeking. That's what Amazon is looking for in the interview. All right, let's go with my second story, which is how words are right in front of you and how people still miss them because they don't bother to dive deeply enough. At Amazon, in addition to being a bar raiser, I was also a new hire orientation host. What this means is that I was running new hire orientation, and any new Amazonian who joins the company has to spend their very first day on the job with someone like me before they are allowed to join their team. So on that day, one of the items on that NHO presentation was a video with Jeff Bezos welcoming all new Amazonians and sharing with them what Bezos calls the 4 big ideas that define Amazon. Now here's the kicker. The contents of that Bezos presentation are available publicly online. You need to know where to look for them and assemble the message together, but they're completely available. I'll share with you what that looks like briefly in the next few seconds.
We actually do stick to one thing. We only have a few principles at Amazon, kind of core values that we go back to over and over again. And the first one, and by far the most important one, is customer obsession. Another one is eagerness to invent. Another one is long-term thinking. And then the last one, operational excellence.
And there you have it. Now, granted, the quality of the production is much lower. There's no inspirational music going on in the background, so on and so forth. But the essence of the message is the same. And mind you, this information is available everywhere for everyone to consume, yet people dismiss it. And what's more, next I'll show you how not only people don't follow and pay attention to this information, they argue with it, even though it's available to them freely and publicly.
Isn't it, to some extent, a certain amount of corporate arrogance to assume that you can come into these businesses, which you have no experience in, and virtually overnight enter a huge variety of different businesses and become the best in those businesses?
And so wait.
So Walmart doesn't have low prices, fast, and convenient delivery?
I don't want to be overly bold in my claim, but the online model gives us significant cost structure advantages.
Words matter at Amazon. Data matters. You need to dive deep, use that data, and pay attention to the importance of these words. I'll give you another analogy. Imagine if something is hiding in plain sight. Imagine you get this piece of junk mail and you're happy to dismiss it at first sight. But if you dug in a bit more deeply, you would maybe find a $20 bill that was wrapped inside this piece of junk mail. Now, I'm not suggesting that you should unpack your junk mail and look for dollar bills in there. That's far from what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to convey is how something is hiding in plain sight and how the Amazon way of thinking suggests that you should ignore that top veneer and go more deeply and seek that kernel of indivisible truth, following the dentist game and seeking data and seeking the truth over social cohesion. You should display that in your Amazon interview every single chance you get. My final story today will cover the VP obsession at Amazon with small numbers and seemingly insignificant data. When we were launching Fire TV, I firsthand witnessed how VPs making millions of dollars a year obsess over the tiniest numbers in meetings, and they dissect them relentlessly over and over again. I'm talking hundreds of numbers in this case. When we were launching Fire TV and launching brand new games, Fire TV had 0 install base. We were starting from scratch. And I was in meetings where these VPs were tracking hourly sales data by state. They were tracking NPS deviation, score deviations by ID, device ID number. They were looking at UI retention metrics on different buttons, so on and so forth. The point is, the numbers were infinitesimally small, yet the obsession with them and the diving deep was incredibly high. Why was that? Because Dive deep matters no matter the scale. And if you exercise this level of data obsession, these small numbers in time are going to transition to be huge. An analogy I'll use for you here is much like you have a pine cone that looks very, very small at first sight, but in time it's going to grow into a huge fir tree, or an acorn here, which is just as small, even smaller than the pine cone, but it's going to become an oak. Very similarly to Amazon's VPs, and that focus, that relentless focus on data, shows you how you start with nothing, yet you focus on it. You drive it from the very first day by using data until it grows into something much more substantive. Amazon Fire TV's installed base today, publicly available information, is more than 250 million TVs worldwide. That's a staggering number. Yet it all started as a pine cone. It all started as an acorn because of the obsession with data and diving deep. And I have to admit that I'm a big Roku fan. I have a bunch of Roku devices in my house. This is my water bottle. Yet I cannot deny that Amazon obsession with data and how important and pervasive that is in anything the company does. Therefore, you should exercise that same obsession and focus on data in your Amazon interview as well. In a lot of other companies, it's sexy to be strategic. It is scoffed at if you're tactical and if you're going deep. Not at Amazon. At Amazon, you have to earn the right to be strategic by understanding the data and understanding the diving deep components of what you do. Don't just know what happened, know why it happened, and exercise that relentlessly. All right, I hope this was helpful. Now that you know the importance of diving deep, you're ready to make the next step and watch this video here next, where I will describe the importance of the earning trust leadership principle in your Amazon interview. The earn trust leadership principle is absolutely unique at Amazon. It is the one leadership principle that is universally applied to every single level at the company, no matter how junior or senior. So watch this video here next, and I'll see you there soon.